The hidden power within you. What if I told you that the key to an unshakable life has been hiding in plain sight for over 2,000 years? What if the very struggles you face today, the chaos, the doubt, the endless distractions, were the exact same battles fought and conquered by some of history's most powerful minds? Welcome to Sophia's Stoicism, where ancient wisdom meets modern challenges. I'm about to share with you 3 simple yet revolutionary principles that will fundamentally change how you approach every day of your life. But here's the catch. By the end of this video, you'll realize that everything you thought you knew about strength, focus, and success was incomplete. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius had unlimited power, yet he wrote extensively about mastering himself. The slave Epictetus had nothing, yet he became one of history's most influential teachers. What did they know that we've forgotten? They understood that external circumstances don't determine your life's quality. Your internal state does. Today, we're going to explore 3 pillars that separate the scattered from the unshakable. Focus yourself, believe yourself, act yourself. But I must warn you, this isn't about quick fixes or motivational highs. This is about fundamental transformation that requires you to question everything you think you know about personal power. Chapter 1. The Modern Attention Crisis and the Stoic Solution. The invisible prison of scattered attention. In our hyper-connected world, we've become prisoners of our own devices. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. We've created what I call attention poverty, being rich in information but bankrupt in focus. The Stoics recognized that a person without focus is enslaved, not by chains, but by their own scattered attention. They understood something we've forgotten. Your attention is your most valuable asset, and whoever controls it controls your life. Consider this. Every ping, notification, and alert is designed by billion-dollar companies whose sole purpose is to capture and monetize your focus. They've industrialized distraction, turning your mind into a commodity that's bought and sold on the attention market. The ancient practice of attention mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This wasn't philosophical poetry. It was a practical command from a man who ruled an empire while maintaining inner peace. He developed what I call the 3-priority system. Every morning, identify 3 things that deserve your attention. Not tasks, not obligations, 3 anchors that will move your life forward. When distractions arise, ask yourself, is this part of my 3? But here's where my approach differs from the original teaching. I recommend adding a 4th element, one thing you will absolutely not do today. This negative space is equally important because it protects your 3 priorities from invasion. A personal story. The executive's transformation. Let me share the story of Sarah, a marketing executive who attended one of my workshops. She was drowning in a sea of meetings, emails, and constant firefighting. Her days felt stolen, her energy depleted, her sense of accomplishment non-existent. I challenged her to implement the 3-priority system for 30 days. The first week was torture. She felt guilty saying no to non-essential meetings. Her phone felt like a phantom limb when she put it away. But by week 3, something remarkable happened. Sarah discovered that 80% of her daily activities were other people's priorities disguised as her own. She realized she'd been living everyone else's life except her own. The transformation wasn't just professional. Her relationships deepened, her health improved, and for the first time in years, she felt like the author of her own story. The 3-priority system didn't just change Sarah's productivity, it changed her identity. She evolved from a reactive employee to a proactive leader, from a scattered individual to a focused force. The neuroscience behind Stoic focus. Modern neuroscience validates what the Stoics intuited 2,000 years ago. When we constantly switch between tasks, our brains suffer from what researchers call attention residue. Part of our mental capacity remains stuck on the previous task, reducing our cognitive performance by up to 40%. The Stoics practiced what we now call monotasking, giving complete attention to one thing at a time. They understood that the mind, like a muscle, grows stronger through focused resistance rather than scattered effort. My enhanced focus protocol. Morning clarity ritual. Before checking any device, spend 10 minutes identifying your 3 priorities. Attention audit. Every 2 hours, ask yourself, what has my attention right now, and does it deserve it? Evening reflection. Review how well you honored your priorities and plan adjustments for tomorrow. Weekly deep dive. Choose 1 day per week for completely uninterrupted work on your most important project. The architecture of unshakable self-belief. Beyond positive thinking. The Stoic foundation of confidence. Popular culture tells us that self-belief comes from affirmations, visualization, or positive thinking. The Stoics knew better. They understood that authentic self-belief isn't a feeling, it's a byproduct of consistent action aligned with your values. Epictetus taught that self-belief is forged in the furnace of small, daily decisions when no one is watching. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for your own trustworthiness. Every time you break that promise, you erode the foundation of your self-respect. The evidence-based confidence system. What I've discovered in my years of studying Stoicism is that confidence isn't about feeling good about yourself. It's about accumulating evidence that you can rely on yourself. I call this the personal integrity bank account. Every act of self-discipline is a deposit. Every broken promise to yourself is a withdrawal. Your confidence is simply the balance in this account. When you have a surplus of kept commitments, you naturally feel capable of handling whatever life throws at you. The 4 pillars of Stoic self-belief. Competence through practice. You believe you can do something because you've done it before. Character through consistency. You trust yourself because you have a track record of integrity. Courage through challenge. You know you can handle difficulty because you've chosen difficulty. Clarity through reflection. You understand yourself because you regularly examine your actions and motivations. The story of Marcus. From self-doubt to unshakable confidence. Marcus was a software developer who came to me completely demoralized. He'd been laid off twice in 3 years. His last relationship had ended badly, and he was convinced he was fundamentally flawed. His inner dialogue was a constant stream of self-criticism and doubt. I introduced him to what I call the daily evidence protocol. Instead of trying to think positive thoughts, Marcus would document one small act of integrity each day. Day 1. He made his bed even though he felt depressed. Day 2. He went for a walk even though he didn't want to. Day 3, he called a friend even though he felt like isolating. The magic wasn't in the activities themselves, it was in the accumulating evidence that he could trust himself to do what he said he would do. By month 6, Marcus had launched his own consulting business. By year 1, he was earning more than he ever had as an employee. The transformation happened because Marcus stopped trying to feel confident and started building confidence through action. He discovered what the Stoics knew: belief follows behavior, not the other way around. The neurobiology of earned confidence. Recent research in neuroplasticity shows that our brains are constantly rewiring based on our repeated actions. When we consistently follow through on commitments to ourselves, we strengthen neural pathways associated with self-efficacy and reduce activity in brain regions linked to self-doubt. The Stoics were essentially doing cognitive behavioral therapy 2,000 years before CBT was invented. They understood that you can't think your way into self-belief. You have to act your way there. My personal integrity protocol: daily commitment. Make one small specific promise to yourself each morning. Integrity check. Before bed, honestly assess whether you kept that promise. Evidence journal. Write down 3 things you did today that made you proud. Weekly review. Identify patterns in your behavior and adjust your commitments accordingly. The discipline of consistent action. Why smart people fail. The action gap. Intelligence isn't enough. Talent isn't enough. Good intentions certainly aren't enough. The graveyard of human potential is filled with brilliant people who never acted on their insights. The Stoics understood that the gap between knowledge and action is where most lives get stuck. Seneca wrote, "We suffer mostly in imagination. We create elaborate plans, detailed strategies, and comprehensive preparations, but we often fail to take the first simple step. This is what I call preparation paralysis. The illusion that more planning will somehow make action easier. The Stoic bias toward action." The Stoics were not philosophers who thought about life. They were practitioners who lived their philosophy. They understood that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. They developed what I call the minimum effective dose principle, the smallest action that will create forward momentum. The action hierarchy. Flawed action beats perfect planning. Small consistent action beats large sporadic action. Directional action beats aimless activity. Personal action beats waiting for permission. The story of Elena. From dreamer to creator. Elena had dreamed of writing a novel for 15 years. She'd bought writing courses, attended workshops, joined critique groups, and read dozens of books on the craft of writing. She had notebooks full of character sketches, plot outlines, and scene ideas, but she had never written a single complete chapter. When Elena came to my workshop, I gave her what she initially thought was terrible advice. Write 100 words every day for 100 days. Don't worry about quality, plot, or character development. Just write 100 words about anything. Elena was frustrated. She wanted to write the perfect novel, not random thoughts, but she committed to the challenge. Day 1 was painful. 100 words felt like torture. By day 30, she looked forward to her writing time. By day 60, she was consistently writing more than 100 words. By day 100, she had the first draft of 3 short stories and the beginning of her novel. The breakthrough wasn't in the quality of her early writing, it was in proving to herself that she was the kind of person who writes consistently. Once that identity was established, everything else became possible. The compound effect of small actions. The Stoics understood something modern psychology has confirmed. Small, consistent actions compound exponentially over time. A 1% improvement every day results in being 37 times better after 1 year. Conversely, a 1% decline every day leaves you with nearly nothing after 1 year. This is why the Stoics focused on daily practices rather than dramatic gestures. They knew that character is built in the mundane moments, not in the extraordinary ones. My action acceleration system. The 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes and aligns with your priorities, do it immediately. The 1% principle. Focus on getting 1% better rather than achieving perfection. The daily non-negotiable. Choose one action that must happen every day, regardless of circumstances. The weekly sprint. Dedicate 1 hour per week to your most important long-term project, overcoming the action blockers. Through years of coaching, I've identified the 5 most common reasons people fail to act. Perfectionism. Waiting for the perfect moment, plan or circumstance. Overwhelm. Trying to change everything at once. Fear of judgment. Worrying about what others will think. Lack of clarity. Not knowing exactly what to do next. Energy depletion. Being too drained from other commitments. The Stoic solution to each of these is elegantly simple. Start where you are, with what you have, doing what you can. Focus on one thing at a time. Act according to your values, not others' opinions. Make your next step so small it's impossible to fail. Protect your energy like the precious resource it is. The Modern Stoics' Guide to Obstacle Navigation. Reframing resistance as training. The Stoics had a revolutionary perspective on obstacles. They saw them not as interruptions to their path, but as the path itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't just philosophical poetry. It's a practical framework for turning every setback into a setup for growth. I've expanded on this ancient wisdom to create what I call the obstacle as opportunity matrix. The OO matrix: physical obstacles, health issues, financial constraints, time limitations, emotional obstacles, fear, doubt, anger, grief, social obstacles, criticism, rejection, misunderstanding, mental obstacles, limiting beliefs, cognitive biases, fixed mindsets. Each category of obstacle contains the seeds of its own solution. Physical obstacles teach resourcefulness and resilience. Emotional obstacles develop emotional intelligence and stability. Social obstacles build independence and authentic communication skills. Mental obstacles expand your capacity for growth and learning. The story of David. From victim to victor. David was a small business owner whose company was devastated by the 2020 pandemic. He lost 90% of his revenue in 2 months, had to lay off most of his staff, and was facing bankruptcy. When he contacted me, he was bitter, angry, and convinced that external forces had destroyed his life. I introduced David to the Stoic practice of obstacle inventory, looking at each challenge as a specific skill-building opportunity. His financial crisis became a masterclass in lean operations. His staffing challenges taught him to identify truly essential roles. His market disruption forced him to innovate in ways he never would have otherwise. 18 months later, David's rebuilt company was more profitable than his original business had ever been. More importantly, he had developed what he called anti-fragility, the ability to not just survive disruption, but to thrive because of it. The key wasn't positive thinking or denial. It was systematic reframing of obstacles as training for capabilities he didn't know he needed. The neuroplasticity of resilience. Modern neuroscience has discovered that our brains are remarkably adaptable. When we consistently reframe challenges as opportunities, we literally rewire our neural pathways to become more resilient. The Stoics were practicing what researchers now call post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon of becoming stronger through adversity. My obstacle navigation protocol. Immediate response. When facing an obstacle, pause and ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Skill identification. Identify what capability this obstacle is forcing you to develop. Resource audit. List what resources, internal and external, you have available. Action planning. Create specific steps to address the obstacle while building the required skill. Progress tracking. Document how you're growing through the challenge. The 3 types of obstacles and how to handle each. Through my research and coaching experience, I've categorized obstacles into 3 types, each requiring a different approach. Type 1. Removable obstacles. These can be solved through direct action, planning, or resource allocation. The Stoic approach is swift, decisive action without emotional attachment to the outcome. Type 2. Manageable obstacles. These cannot be removed, but can be mitigated or worked around. The Stoic approach is creative adaptation and strategic patience. Type 3. Immovable obstacles. These must be accepted and integrated into your life plan. The Stoic approach is radical acceptance and meaning-making. The wisdom lies in quickly identifying which type you're facing and applying the appropriate strategy. The compound effect of small moments. Why consistency trumps intensity. Our culture celebrates dramatic transformations and overnight successes, but the Stoics knew better. They understood that sustainable change happens through small, repeated actions compounded over time. This is what I call the aggregation of marginal gains. The idea that 1% improvements in multiple areas create exponential results. The modern fitness industry illustrates this perfectly. People spend thousands of dollars on extreme workout programs and dramatic diets, only to return to their baseline within months. Meanwhile, those who make small, sustainable changes, walking 15 minutes daily, eating 1 extra serving of vegetables, drinking 1 more glass of water, achieve lasting transformation. The story of Patricia. The power of micro-habits. Patricia was a middle manager who felt stuck in every area of her life. Her health was declining, her relationships were stagnant, and her career had plateaued. She was overwhelmed by the idea of making major changes in all these areas simultaneously. I introduced Patricia to the concept of micro-habits, actions so small they require minimal willpower but create momentum for larger changes. We started with 3 micro habits. Do 10 push-ups every morning. Write 1 sentence in a gratitude journal before bed. Have 1 meaningful conversation per day. These actions took less than 5 minutes total, but their impact was profound. The push-ups led to a full exercise routine. The gratitude practice improved her mood and relationships. The daily meaningful conversations enhanced her leadership skills and career prospects. Within a year, Patricia had been promoted, had run her first 10K, and was in the happiest relationship of her life. The transformation didn't happen because of dramatic action. It happened because small, consistent actions created new neural pathways and identity shifts. The identity-based habit formation. The Stoics understood something modern psychology has confirmed. Lasting change happens at the identity level, not the outcome level. Instead of saying, "I want to lose weight," you say, "I am the type of person who takes care of their body." Instead of, "I want to write a book," you say, "I am a writer." The Identity Shift Protocol. Current identity audit. Who are you now, based on your consistent actions? Desired identity clarity. Who do you want to become? Bridge actions. What small daily actions would someone with your desired identity take? Consistency tracking. How can you measure your consistency with these identity-aligned actions? Identity reinforcement. How do you remind yourself of your evolving identity? The neuroscience of habit formation. Research shows that it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit, but this varies dramatically based on the complexity of the behavior and the consistency of practice. The Stoics instinctively understood the habit loop: cue, routine, reward, and repetition. They also understood something modern science has validated: the importance of implementation intentions. Instead of vague goals like, "I will exercise more," they created specific plans. After I wake up, I will do 20 push-ups in my bedroom. My consistency compound system. Habit stacking. Attach new habits to existing routines. Environmental design. Make good choices easier and bad choices harder. Progress visualization. Use visual tracking to maintain motivation. Flexibility framework. Plan for obstacles and have backup strategies. Community accountability. Share your commitments with others who will support your consistency. The art of strategic non-action. The wisdom of restraint in an impulsive world, in a world that rewards quick reactions and immediate responses, the Stoics taught something revolutionary. Sometimes the most powerful action is no action at all. They understood that restraint is not weakness, it's strength channeled in its most disciplined form. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But implicit in this teaching is the option to not react at all. Sometimes the wisest response is silence, patience, or strategic withdrawal. The story of Michael. The power of strategic pause. Michael was a successful entrepreneur with a reputation for being hot-headed. His quick reactions had cost him business deals, damaged relationships, and created unnecessary stress. He was known for sending late-night emails he regretted and having heated arguments that solved nothing. I introduced Michael to what I call the 24-hour rule, a commitment to wait 24 hours before responding to anything that triggered a strong emotional reaction. The first week was torture. He drafted dozens of emails and text messages, but forced himself to save them in drafts. Something remarkable happened during those 24-hour waiting periods. Michael's perspective would shift. The urgent crisis would reveal itself as a minor inconvenience. The perceived slight would appear as a misunderstanding. The brilliant comeback would sound petty in the light of day. Within 3 months, Michael's business relationships had dramatically improved. His team respected his measured responses. His family appreciated his thoughtful communication. He had learned that responding slowly is often more powerful than responding quickly. The 4 types of strategic non-action. Through my study of Stoicism and modern psychology, I've identified 4 types of strategic non-action. 1. Protective non-action, choosing not to engage with toxic people or situations. 2. Patient non-action, waiting for better information or timing before acting. 3. Dignified non-action, refusing to lower yourself to others. Level 4. Wise non-action, recognizing that some problems solve themselves if left alone. Each type requires different skills and serves different purposes, but all require the strength to resist the cultural pressure for immediate action. The neurological benefits of restraint. Neuroscience research shows that practicing restraint actually strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you're literally building mental muscle. The Stoics were practicing what researchers now call response flexibility, the ability to choose your response rather than being controlled by automatic reactions. My strategic restraint system. Trigger identification. Recognize what situations typically cause you to react impulsively. Pause protocol. Develop a standard waiting period for different types of decisions. Energy assessment. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Long-term perspective. Consider how you'll feel about this situation in a year. Value alignment. Ensure your potential response aligns with your core values, building your personal philosophy. Beyond rules. Creating your life operating system. The Stoics didn't just follow a set of rules, they developed comprehensive personal philosophies that guided their decisions. These weren't abstract theories, but practical frameworks for living. I call this your life operating system, the core principles that determine how you process information and make decisions. Most people operate on unconscious programming, inherited from family, culture, and random experiences. The Stoics took conscious control of their programming, carefully choosing the beliefs and principles that would guide their lives. The 5 components of a personal philosophy. Based on my analysis of Stoic texts and modern psychological research, I've identified 5 essential components of a robust personal philosophy. 1. Core values. What principles are non-negotiable? 2. Purpose statement. What is your reason for existing? 3. Decision framework. How do you evaluate choices? 4. Response patterns. How do you handle common situations? 5. Growth methodology. How do you continue evolving? The story of Jennifer. From reactive to intentional living. Jennifer was a healthcare administrator who felt like she was constantly putting out fires. Her days were filled with urgent but unimportant tasks, difficult conversations she avoided, and decisions she made under pressure. She felt like she was living someone else's life. I guided Jennifer through the process of creating her personal philosophy. We started with her core values: compassion, excellence, and integrity. From these values, we developed decision-making criteria and response patterns for common situations. For example, when faced with a difficult conversation, Jennifer's new protocol was: how can I approach this with compassion while maintaining my integrity and pursuing excellence? This simple framework transformed her leadership style and job satisfaction. Within 6 months, Jennifer had been promoted to a director role. More importantly, she felt aligned with her choices and confident in her direction. She had moved from reactive living to intentional living. The daily philosophy practice. The Stoics practiced daily philosophical reflection, not as an academic exercise, but as practical preparation for life's challenges. They would anticipate difficulties, review their values, and mentally rehearse their responses. My daily philosophy protocol. Morning intention. Setting. Review your core values and set intentions for the day. Midday check-in. Assess whether your actions are aligned with your philosophy. Evening reflection. Review decisions made and lessons learned. Weekly deep dive. Spend 30 minutes examining and refining your personal philosophy. Monthly evolution. Update your philosophy based on new experiences and insights. The integration challenge. The gap between knowing your philosophy and living it is where most people struggle. The Stoics understood that integration requires practice, patience, and persistence. They developed specific techniques for closing this gap. Integration techniques.